For the best deals on tires and rims, go to tiresourcecanada.ca. And don't forget to use their promo code HOC5 for a 5% discount on all the online orders. The link is in the description below. Hi guys, and welcome to another EV6 video. If you're already a subscriber, thank you and welcome back. But if you're new, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when the next video drops. The EV6 is finally back from repairs after the accident, and this is what it looked like when I dropped it off for repairs. I am dropping off my car for repairs. Let's take another look so I can show you a before and after. We can see the trim here, and then this, obviously this, and this. And I'm going to be taking this rental home, the Model 3. And this is after the repairs. They did an excellent job repairing the car. I'm particularly very happy with the paint job. The dent is gone. Everything else is in place. Very neat and clean job. Good as new. That's my rental. Yes, it is a Model Y. Earlier you saw it was a Model 3. I'll tell you why it got switched. Very interesting. Let's talk about the cost of repair. The initial assessment was just under 7,500 Canadian dollars. But after it was dropped off for repairs, a couple of days later, I received an email from the collision center saying they found more damage and they've ordered the parts. Now I asked, what is the additional damage? How much is the additional cost? They never responded to that email. So I looped in the insurance company, to which they only said, well, the parts have been ordered and they will arrive shortly and they will continue the repairs. They never mentioned the additional cost. Clearly, they were dodging the question, which gave me an idea that it was going to be a substantial bump in the additional cost. So when I picked up the car and saw the paperwork, it was just under $14,500 Canadian. For those who are interested, I'll leave a link of the documents to see what the breakdown of the total cost is. The first thing I did after getting in my EV6 was turn the wipers on. Accidentally, because the Teslas have a column-mounted shifter. So, muscle memory, I tried to put the car in drive and turn the wipers on, and that's when I realized, oops, turned it back off, and then used this shifter right here. And that wasn't the only time I did it. I kept doing it repeatedly throughout the day. After I got my EV6, the first thing I noticed was how smooth the power delivery is. There's no other way to say it. It's very smooth to accelerate and decelerate. It's very refined. That's the way I would put it. And not that there's lack of power in the Model 3 or the Model Y. There's tons of power. Very fun. There's no denying that. But it's the power delivery is what I'm talking about. It's very different in both the vehicles. It feels very raw in the Tesla, put it this way. And in my EV6, it's very refined. Even the adaptive cruise control, or the smart cruise control, as Kia likes to call it, it's very smooth in operation. The acceleration, the deceleration, it's fantastic. I guess the analogy I can use is the power delivery between a muscle car and a refined sports car, I guess. So why was the Tesla Model 3 swapped for the Tesla Model Y? Initially, I was given the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive with winter tires. And it was great, fun to drive, as long as there was no snow on the road. One day I was on the highway, and it started snowing. Nothing too crazy, just regular snow. Not even a storm, just snow. Obviously, it caused some slush on the road, and the car started fishtailing. Badly. I was surrounded by trucks. It was scary. And I wasn't even going too fast. It was 80, 90 kilometers an hour. Below the speed limit. Because, well, once snow starts, people drive carefully. And my wife got scared pretty scared, and I had to very carefully drive home, and then I sent an email to the rental company asking them to pick it up the very next day. And it was swapped for a Model 3 all-wheel drive with the winter tires. Guess what? Same thing. And I was surprised because I refused to believe that the car was doing this and was incapable of handling even a little bit of snow. So I blamed the winter tires. I thought maybe they're not good winter tires, because there is such a thing as good and bad winter tires. So I looked up Toyo Observe, and they had decent reviews. I thought maybe the tread isn't enough, and I inspected it, and they looked pretty okay. I asked the rental company to inspect the tire tread as well, and they said the same thing. They're okay. They're actually newer than the one from the rear-wheel drive. So for the rear-wheel drive, I was under the impression that the heavy electric motors sit on the rear axle, and then the weight distribution of the batteries makes it very stable. So even with the rear-wheel drive, you should be okay in snow, and no, it wasn't. But then I was hoping to resolve that issue with the all-wheel drive Model 3, because, well, all-wheel drive. And then I actually told the rental company what was happening, and they were like, well, it's a Tesla, too much torque on the rear end. I'm like, I drive an EV6 electric. A lot of torque goes to the rear wheels. I've never had this issue. Anyways, I was given the Model Y with winter tires. And no, I did not have that issue with the Model Y. I've test driven the Model 3 and the Model Y before, so it wasn't my first time driving it, but those were under normal conditions and only for like half an hour, just like you do for a test drive. But this was a long-term rental. My car was in the shop for 5 weeks. And this was my experience. The lack of gauge cluster bothers a lot of people and is their pet peeve with Teslas. Did not bother me at all, even though my car has a gauge cluster. Is it helpful? Absolutely. Did lack of it bother me? No, it did not. The center screen, the large 15-inch touchscreen that they have designed, the software is fantastic. It is designed very beautifully. It has everything, and it obviously takes you a day or two to see what's where, and once you know, it's very quick to get to. There's no digging into menus. I mean, technically you have to dig into menus, but like the way it's laid out, it's not that hard to get to, is what I'm saying. Everything's within reach that you need. Your climate controls, your car controls. I love the big screen mapping and everything. It's great. Plus the software itself is very quick. Plus the screen itself is like a tablet, a big 15-inch tablet in your car, and it came in really handy when I was waiting in the car for my wife, or my wife was waiting for me in the car, and we would just watch Netflix or YouTube. And once both of us were waiting in the car, and we just played some Sudoku. So that was great. It's perfect entertainment, to the point there that I actually miss it. I loved it. We both loved it. The Tesla Model 3s I got were, at least the Model 3 rear-wheel drive was 2018, I think. Not sure about the all-wheel drive model year, and not sure about the Model Y model year. None of them had heated steering wheels, which was shocking, because even for 2018, for a company that claims itself to be so technologically advanced, to be missing such a basic feature for a country like Canada, very shocking. Pretty safe to say that 7-year-old or 8-year-old Corollas and Civics had heated steering wheels. Standard even, maybe. Not sure, but possibly. And we were in winter, so not fun. The autopilot is essentially just adaptive cruise control, because they have something called enhanced autopilot that you have to pay for, which obviously rental companies, well, why would they? And that's where you get the additional features of the automatic lane change and the summon and auto parking and whatnot. And even the autopilot, the basic autopilot wasn't, or adaptive cruise control was not very impressive. I did not find it particularly smooth in operation, especially when braking, because at times I found it to, instead of slowing down, it would abruptly brake. I also experienced phantom braking where there was like no car near me and it just braked. So yeah, it was not a good experience using the autopilot. Again, not enhanced autopilot, just autopilot. They shouldn't call it autopilot, really. They should have just called the enhanced autopilot, and called this just, well, adaptive cruise control. It didn't have any active blind spot warning either. So when you switch your turn signals on, and if there's some car in the blind spot, you would get a red line on the screen where it's giving you that preview of the direction you're trying to change. But if you're just going straight and there's a car in the blind spot, like my car just tells me there's no such thing, I'm hoping it would be in the enhanced autopilot, but not in the one that I had. Again, it's just something that you expect for a car that costs that much. Oh, this is going to bother people so much. I did not find it particularly efficient either. If I have just over 200 kilometers on my EV6, I don't plug it in. I know I'm able to go to work and come back. Not the case with the Model 3. I had just over 200 kilometers on it, and judging by my EV6 experience, I was like, I should be able to go to work and come back, and I couldn't. I had to stop at a supercharger and charge it just enough to get home, but I wouldn't have been able to. When I got to the supercharger, I had 0 kilometers. Actually, I was about maybe a kilometer away when it went to 0. And my office is not that far. Yes, it was winter, minus 10 or even teens degrees Celsius. And I don't remember, obviously, the exact temperature. And I was blasting the heating just like I do with my EV6. The heated seats were fully on, like to high, just like my EV6. And yeah, in my EV6, I can make the trip no problem. In the Model 3, I wasn't able to. And that was not just a one-off. The 5 weeks that I had the 3 different Teslas, I noticed the same thing. It has a bigger battery. It has, okay, let me rephrase. I don't know if it has a bigger battery, but I definitely know it has more range. It displays more range. It's rated at a higher range than my EV6. When I charge my EV6 fully, 200%, which I do, and I have been for 2 years now, I get just over 400 kilometers of range. And with the Model Y, I was getting close to 500, like 499, 480 of range when I was charging it fully, 200%. And I found that I had to charge it more frequently compared to my EV6. Now, even though it had more range, it dropped quicker, if that makes any sense. So it was using more energy is what I'm trying to say, compared to my EV6. So even though I get just over 400, so there was like, let's say, give or take 100 kilometers of difference between the two cars. So it had, the Model 3 had 100 more kilometers in range, yet it was dropping so substantially that I would find myself charging it sooner than I would my EV6. My lifestyle didn't change. I was still driving the same distance, going to the same places, same weather. I took this picture for this video, but I should have tried to find a setting to see if I could change it to kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers or kilometers per kilowatt hour. But this is what I saw, and I really couldn't make much sense of it. Ride and handling. Ride is harsh on both the Model 3 and the Model Y. Handling is great in the Tesla Model 3. It's a sedan. It has a lower center of gravity. It's lighter, so yeah, it's great. Going around corners, around ramps, it's great. Loved it. Had fun. Not so much with the Model Y. Can't defy physics. It's a heavier vehicle. It's a taller vehicle, so you do feel that higher center of gravity. So when you go around that corner, especially on a ramp, and you try to push it, you're not so comfortable doing it. Like, you feel restrained because, well, you're kind of scared to do it. Not so much in the Model 3. And the EV6 slots perfectly between the two. Even though Kia sells it as a crossover, we all know it's like a lifted hatchback. And it does not drive like a crossover at all. It drives more like a sedan. And that's what I experienced. Like, I get more space, obviously, like a crossover. Well, not as much, obviously. But I do get more space than a sedan and everything. And the additional clearance, road clearance. But the driving experience in the EV6 is very similar, not the same, but very similar to a sedan. I missed it. I know a lot of people own a Kia EV6 and a Tesla Model 3 or a Tesla Model Y. So you know I'm right. And I know you'll let me know in the comment sections if you feel I'm not. I hope you found the video useful. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and thank you for watching.